Yeah, he definitely has, and I think that you're definitely correct where Ness is probably the absolute favorite overall, you know, on paper.
Yeah, but that being said, Greensheep also, as we were saying before, has a very strong reputation, and I think if there was to be someone to come back after and face someone that just got a 3-0 and, you know, really show them their place, Greensheep might be our guy to do that.
Yeah, I think Greensheep definitely has built a reputation for himself within the UK scene, and I think he'll be very much looking to uphold that. He's definitely one of the players that when you think of the UK scene, you think of Greensheep, right? He's one of those kind of almost representatives, I feel.
Yeah, but then even more so than the UK scene, because he's very well known in the entire Hearthstone scene all across the world. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very big contender as well. And before we jump into this game, I am going to ask you guys once more for your predictions. So starting with you, Falcone, how do you think this series is going to pan out?
Okay, well, as I said before, I know that Osha got that incredibly strong win against Ness, but I'm going to go with Greensheep here. I think that, again, I can't imagine it being an easy 3-0 as well. Really, it's hard to imagine many games going like this when we're playing with everyone at this level. But I think that Greensheep will take it away.
Okay, what about you, Detsy?
So both of these guys are are friends that I see quite a lot in the community, and I think that they're both excellent players. But my money once again is on Osha, the black horse of this tournament.
All right, well, we'll see if he is going to be able to make that happen. I've got to say, I'm with you on this one, Falcone. I think Greensheep, just such an experienced player, and as well, if I remember correctly, and now this is kind of throwing back in my memory, but in the last group stage, I believe Greensheep beat Osha. So going off of that and just going off of kind of how long Greensheep has been a player and how much respect he's in, I feel like he will have an edge. But again, it's hard to say how close this will be because Osha just 3-0'd Ness. And Greensheep had a much harder time in his first round today. So we'll see whether that's going to be affecting mentalities and things. But I don't know about you guys. I'm just about ready to take a look at the decks that these guys are going to be bringing to the table and see what kind of bans we've got coming in. And this time, as we mentioned before, the Warrior, much more likely of a ban. And to be honest, I was expecting this in the first round as well.
Sure. So both of them ban Warrior, and it seems like okay, so both of them have Shaman and Warlock, but sorry, did I just say Shaman? Shaman and Warlock, and the only difference is the Druid versus the Hunter. So pretty interesting that Osha is planning to not bring Druid, which is arguably the strongest deck in the format right now. So.
You know, I was particularly interested in seeing Osha's lineup because we were saying before, he did get that 3-0 there. And the one way someone could get a 3-0 in a tournament like this is by having this unique, almost miracle lineup, you know? Yeah. That's not hinting towards Geddesign Auctioneer or Leroy Jenkins there. But it could be that he just has the element of surprise and also built a very, powerful, refined series of decks and can just steal some wins like that.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I expect Greensheep to open with this Druid first because Druid is, it has pretty good matchups across the board, apart from Warrior, which he banned. So I would expect Greensheep to open with Druid and Osha, I'm quite close to Osha, but I really don't know much about his playstyle. So I'm really not sure what he would queue in first and how he's going to really approach this matchup versus Greensheep.
I think one thing to say as well with when you're running that Hunter deck, often it's kind of indicative of a playstyle. Like Hunter often is very, very aggressive, and I would say if I don't know whether he is running two other aggressive decks as well, but if I was, I'd maybe just run with that Hunter first just to kind of set the tone almost, set the pace of the games that are going to be coming up and kind of let them know that you are going to be smorking an awful lot.
Sure.
But yeah, so going into this matchup then, I'm certainly excited to kind of sink my teeth into some of this Hearthstone and see how this one's going to pan out, but I'm curious to see whether Osha is going to bring those aggressive decks, because we've got Warlock, which easily could be Zoo. We've got that Hunter, which is very likely quite aggressive. Obviously, it's usually more towards that mid-range, but it still feels like an aggressive deck, right? Call of the Wild is a very aggressive card in of itself, but actually going to be Warlocks coming on through against a Shaman here.
And I was just about to say, if we're seeing Warlocks, if we're seeing Zoo, we're almost guaranteed to see some Silverware Golems, some Malkazar's Imp, there it is there, and some Soulfires, because I think it's just universally agreed upon now that adding these few discard cards into the deck, sometimes Librarian as well, it just makes Zoo better. It's not even worth calling it Discard Lock because it's still Zoo.
It's just Zoo with Malcazar's Imp and Silverware Golem. That's about it. Right.
Well, we'll see whether that is going to be the case. You know, we've only seen a couple of cards here, so maybe it is going to be leaning more towards discard. Maybe it will just be that kind of standard Zoo. But one thing I will say, of what I've cast of Greensheep, he does like Zoo. I think he brought it to almost every single group stage game last season, so I wouldn't be surprised for this to just be a new iteration of
I
Zoo.
think Greensheep has probably brought Zoo to every single tournament he's played in. But the more important thing maybe is that Osha is running aggro Shaman, which has kind of fallen out of favor a bit because, you know, people like to play mid-range Shaman with the new Spirit Claws, and it's very, very potent with all of the spell damage minions you run. But, yeah, you know, even though he's running aggro, he might run double Maelstrom Portal, which is very good in this matchup. So it might come down to Maelstrom Portal really deciding how well Osha can keep control of Greensheep's board.
Typically, Zoo has been considered favored against the more aggressive Shaman decks just because they're able to draw a card every turn if they want to. Obviously, the addition of Finley kind of evens that out a little bit for the Shaman. They could even pick the Hunter Hero power if they want to get that Zoo's health down really quickly. But a really relevant thing I was talking to Lorinda about recently while casting was that this new discard mechanic, the Malcazar's Imp there and the Soulfires, really does just make the deck a little bit more like old school Zoo that used to run Soulfires and Doom Guards, but then with this possible upside of pulling off some ridiculous combos.
I actually really like Osha's play here just because, you know, in the past you couldn't really coin out the Totem Golem in good conscience if they play a Possessed Villager or an Argent Squire, just because, yeah, you're worried about like power overwhelming coming down and just clearing that minion. But these discard Warlocks, they actually don't run power overwhelming because the thing is with the discard lock, you really want to kind of dump your hand and then you really want to control the discards, whereas the power overwhelming, it just gets in the way of all that.
Yeah.
You know, you need to play the power overwhelming for damage sometimes, and then you play the Soulfire or something, and it's just really, really awkward.
And in that position where you don't already have a minion on the board, the power overwhelming is completely unplayable, which is a disaster with this sort of deck.
Okay, so Fireball, Armor Up, and Life Tap from Osha. We can't see on the screen, but I think that he still has to go for the Life Tap. It's really, really awkward because he's not going to be able to Life Tap for probably another like 4 or 5 turns until it gets to late game. But
it's really tricky, but I think that's how you beat the Warlock. You fight fire with fire, and you try and keep up with him in terms of draw power.
I think there's something to be said as well about the Fire Blast. You know, it's such a versatile ability. You can use that just to stay in control of the board. Obviously, generally speaking, Zoolocks do have a lot of 1/1s and things like that, so...
That was a good call.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So Osha has, you know, depending on what hero power you pick, it really dictates your game plan. So Osha is really going to try to just control the board, just outvalue the opponent on the board rather than trying to outvalue them through cards in the late game.
Alright, well, here we go with the Malcazar's... I can't even say that. Malcazar, is it?
Yeah.
Malcazar's
Malcazar's Imp. It's going to be dropped on down, which kind of sets him up for his Doom Guard later on, but I don't know whether that's actually going to last.
Thing is, there's a very high risk now of Osha dealing with Malcazar's Imp. Although it doesn't look like it's easy to do, it's definitely possible by turn 5. And Malcazar's Imp is a card that you really do want to get value from. The good thing about that card in these Zoo decks is that even if both of your Imps get destroyed, you can always get another one from Dark Peddler. So it's a really big deal for Warlock to pick up yet another really high value 1-drop.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I think the Malcazar's Imp is more of just a well-statted minion. And if you get the discards, the value from discards is great, but otherwise it's still a very good minion. It's going to fight on the board pretty well against just like, well, I guess normally totems and stuff, but yeah, it's a pretty good minion. It can get buffed by Argus, and
look
the whole shebang.
Look how well it trades there with Argent Horse Rider, just as one example. And these aggressive decks tend to run minions with lower health, and Malcazar's Imp is one of the perfect things for picking those off, if you need to.
Yeah, pretty awkward turn here from Osha. I think I would like to see the Tuskar Totemic, as awkward as that is. He could use Rockbiter and then Hero Power, but then that's just not really... That's not great. So he's going to go with the Feral Spirits instead, and you know, next turn he has option to Rockbiter or Fire Blast. I'm not sure how much I like this, but... well,
I think they're rolling high with the Tuskar Totemic would have been the best play, getting a Totem Golem there.
Okay. Yeah, so you hit him first, and then you Defender Vargas, and then you clear that off, and then you probably just chill.
Yeah, I'm certainly available. Could even go in to finish off. Yeah, with Voidwalker. Decides to keep that imp on as much HP as possible. This does open up to trade here from Osha, followed by a Fire Blast just to finish off that imp and make sure that that is gone.
I think Osha is probably going to go with just a Rock Biter weapon on the Finley and just trade that in. Because if he uses a Fire Blast, he just leaves the imp up. So it doesn't really make too much sense. Yeah, so he's going to go with that. Next turn, we're probably going to see either Fire Blast. I mean, Osha set himself up for quite a lot of options going to next turn. Even this Doomhammer, if it matches up well with minions, he can go for that. But yeah, Greensheep looks like he's not even going to be tapping anytime soon. So he's just going to play this is Malcazar's imp, just try to get the board, and then plan on Doomguard next turn.
And what's really strong about this is it's the Malcazar's Imp Doomguard sort of functions as cycle. Next turn, if Greensheep gets another card that he doesn't want to play, he just gets rid of it with Doomguard, exchanges it for another one. Maybe he wants to try and get another 1-drop. Maybe he'll draw a 1-drop and he won't cycle it, he'll just play the Doomguard. There are so many different intricate options in this deck, which I think actually makes it a little bit harder to play than traditional Zoo.
Yeah, so Osha could go with the the Lava Burst on the Councilman and then Ping, which is very clean, allows him to play the Flame with Faceless the turn after that, but
yeah, it's still uncomfortable because you leave that imp on the board, right? And that's now we're in a scenario where obviously there's the Councilman, which is a huge threat. You have to deal with that, absolutely, but you've also got that constant cycle that can come on through. So he's kind of got to make a decision on what he actually prioritizes.
I think the worst part for Osha now is that the Doomguard is gonna put so much pressure on the board next turn. He's not really expecting. Well, I mean, he is expecting a Doomguard, but Doomguard is going to be the worst case scenario for him. So I guess instead he's just going to play the 7/7.
That Doomguard was a pretty unfortunate draw there. The other Doomguard, which is I guess the other most valuable card in the deck, not exactly what you want to be discarding, but it had to be done, and at least he gets another card out of it. Darkshire Librarian, another really strong card to play alongside Malcazar's Imp, as it actually draws you 2 cards instead of 1.
So pretty much just one play for Greensheep here is this Smorcall face, and Osha is on the back foot now. Osha's going to have to find a way to clear everything. I guess you can go the Lightning Bolt on the 1/3 and then Lava Burst the Councilman while trading in your 7/7. But it's pretty awkward because the Defender of Argus just trades back into the 7/7 for Greensheep.
So that's going to be a pretty nice trade for Osha. Obviously, his Flame Wreath will survive, but he's got the 2/1 Argus available to finish that off. Lightning Bolt in the hand of Osha. Do you use this on the Imp right now?
Or do you use it on the Defender of Argus to protect your Flame Wreath Faceless?
Yeah, so the problem if you Lightning Bolt now, that means that you can't actually Doomhammer next turn. And you're only going to have 4 mana next turn. So 4 mana is pretty awkward just because you can't do 2 things.
But he decides to do it. Yep. He's protecting the Flame Wreath Faceless. Obviously, you could argue that leaving that imp alive could be a huge mistake in the long run. Greensheep now gets to play Peddler, get another 1-drop. If he doesn't like it, swap it out with a Librarian and get a different card. So yeah, it's difficult. I think Osha made the correct play with the information that he had at the time.
Ooh, Greensheep plans. So Greensheep wanted to tap first. That was quite interesting. I think I would have probably just played the Peddler first and then the Librarian and then tapped afterwards.
I think he was maybe searching for Silverware Golem.
Yeah,
Something along
yeah,
those
that's true.
lines.
That would have been.
It doesn't seem too necessary though, but it looks like Greensheep has a plan.
I think the Greensheep might just pick one of these, play the Flame Imp, and discard whatever he picks and swap it for something else. As like I said before, that is cycle, and these cards just kind of seem a little bit trashed here at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's going to go for the Librarian there, so he's going to discard the Voidwalker and finds himself his Soulfire.
So far, it would have been really nice just to kill that Flame Wreath Faceless, but yeah, so once again, this turn is really awkward for Osha because he put himself in a position where he only has 4 mana, but that Lightning Bolt, definitely the correct play just to keep the Flame Wreath Faceless alive.
I think here, so he's either going to look at Tuskar Totemic, and again, kind of really wanting a high roll there if he does that, or he could Horse Rider, and I suppose go for the Flame Imp there, and maybe hit the face of the Flame Wreath Faceless. I think it's the only target you can hit with it, really.
I think you actually still take the value trade on the Flame Wreath Faceless into the Malcazar's Imp, just because right now it's not too much of a face race, and also you are on the back foot, because...
I think there's something to be said about looking to set up that face race, though. You know, 7 damage
Yeah.
on the field. Has Lava Burst in hand as well as a Doom Hammer. Can search for a second Rock Biter weapon. In the end, he is going to play for board control, though, so clearing away the Flame Imp as well as... or both of the Imps, in fact, gone now.
Yep.
It has to be said, I do agree with you, Munch. I think putting him down to 18 with the Lava Burst, getting him down to 13, the Doom Hammer on 9 with 2 hits, there was definitely a considerable play, but now Greensheep picks on the Mortal Coil, finishing off the Flame Wreath Faceless. He can then play this Knife Juggler, play Soulfire, completely clear the board, and get complete board control despite Osha making
You
the
Soulfire
value
the
trade.
minion for sure,
Yeah.
just because you want to keep that board. And Osha, actually, I'm not sure if Osha actually runs the Maelstrom portal. I mean, the Maelstrom portal isn't even good here. Oh, he runs
but
Lightning
that
Storm.
is...
That's actually exactly what he needed. So he can play the Tuskar Totemic and the Lightning Storm. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit better than the Doom Hammer this turn.
I don't. Well, I mean, you don't need the spell power totem or anything, so I think there's a lot to be said for going with the Doom Hammer to set up for future turns, maybe.
I think the thing is, you still want the Tuskar Totemic on board just to kind of
Just
fight.
for that presence.
Yeah, just for some board presence. Because the thing is, the Doom Hammer, if he plays a Doom Hammer now, he might have to trade with his face into some of Greensheep's minions, and he's only at 12 health. But one saving grace, though, for Osha is that both Doom Guards are gone, and that's pretty much the top end that these discard Warlocks run.
See, I know that I'm lingering on this a little bit, but with the Lightning Storm and Ping, if you wanted to, Osha would have now been able to clear the board that he cleared earlier with, or clear the Imp that he cleared earlier with the Flame Wreath Faceless, and Greensheep would have 7 less health if that went face, which I think would be really relevant, as it would prevent Greensheep from tapping too much, and also be getting really close to threatening lethal with these burn cards in Osha's hand.
I think it's quite close, but at that point, I really did like Osha's value trade. But let's see what he goes with here. So Flame Wreath Faceless, and then a Hero Power into the 2-1, and just trade off both 3 attack minions is something that he could do. The Doom Hammer isn't too great since he's taking a lot of damage, but...
It becomes awkward in the later stages of the game when you can't quite squeeze in the Doom Hammer, because that really is a card that picks up value over time. The sooner you play it, the better, as you can only fully utilize it over 4 turns. So I agree with you that Flame Wreath Faceless looks like a much stronger play this turn, with the ping and the trade-off with the 3/2s. But it's just such a shame that he hasn't managed to develop this Doom Hammer just yet.
Yeah, I think that Osha's actually in a good spot, though, just because... Greensheep is pretty much out of burst damage. He is going to be drawing 2 cards a turn. He has like another Imp Gang boss in the deck and another Silver War Golem, so he has some reasonably sized threats, but it's pretty awkward. Wow, he just goes face. Okay, I actually like this play. So now Osha is making that damage push that he didn't make earlier.
And this is like a similar situation where he still has that Lava Burst in hand. Now he's got the 7 damage on board, but he's in a kind of safer place to actually go for that, instead of it just becoming a race straight away. With only 5 damage available for Greensheep on board, suddenly this is actually looking up a little bit for Osha and Greensheep as well, with how much damage is available for Osha.
Is he going to trade into the 7/7?
I think he has to.
I think he has to as well.
And as well, it's kind of scary to lifetime, you know.
Yeah. But you sort of have to. Like, if you can pick up a Defender of Argus, for example, that would make a big difference.
Well, he's going to drop down his Direwolf Alpha.
Now it looks
Interested
like he's
in
going
that
face.
placement. Yeah, I would have said, like, if it was going to trade, you would think.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's actually going to take out the 3/2 though.
So this is just going to be lethal for Osha, I believe. So that is 7 damage from hand. So that's 14 even without that 1/1.
Yeah.
So, yep. Osha is going to take this first match, and quite an important one too, because you know this is kind of a coin flip matchup for the most part. I'm not sure how the matchup has changed with the addition of like the discard aspects, but yeah, Osha played that really well, I think. Really well, and a little bit unfortunate for Greensheep to discard that Doom Guard earlier on.
Yeah, that
6.
does actually make a big difference, especially against more aggressive decks, because Doomguard it's a 5/7 for 5 mana, and it's got charge. It's like the perfect card to start to come back against an aggressive board. And being able to use one of them in the game against such an aggressive deck, it is a huge disadvantage for Greensheep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I've got to say, very well played by Osha there, just because in that specific matchup, it's not often that you see a lot of scenarios where there are big decisions to make. Often it's just kind of one person gets ahead and they slowly but surely snowball the game in their favor. This one was much more back and forth, and there was a lot of turns where we were kind of debating between ourselves what the best play was to make.
And at the end of the day, Osha won. That's what really matters, right? maybe we didn't all agree on all of the plays, but he won the game, and that's all that really matters to him right now.
Absolutely. I can confirm, actually, that the Warlock is still going to be available for Greensheep there. Obviously, Osha did win that first game, so 1-0 now to Osha. And I mean, what do you guys think about the whole deck selection kind of aspect of things now? Because, you know, there's this whole argument that just rolling a dice is always your best bet. What do you guys think? Would you roll a dice? Would you pick your hunter?
I think 99% of the time you roll the dice. I think unless you're in a position where there's one specific matchup that you really don't want to have to do, you have to roll the dice. And even then, you probably roll the dice, because if you are picking a specific deck to avoid a matchup, your opponent could predict that, in which case rolling the dice is still better.
Okay,
I think, sorry, just quickly on the topic of deck selection there, like, I love how almost accidentally the theory of rolling the dice kind of counters itself, because the theory is that they will predict that you're going to kind of outthink them, but then if they go by the rolling the dice theory, then they're not going to predict anything and they're going to roll the dice. So it's like it's like back and forth. It's basically just a game of chicken between you and your opponent almost.
So Osha goes with the it looks like it might be a more aggressive hunter, just because Ardent Squire isn't really a common thing, but I'm not sure exactly how that does in this matchup. So usually the aggressive hunter decks, they're gonna run, well, I mean, I guess for all hunter decks it's quite normal now to run double Unleash the Hounds. So Unleash the Hounds is probably going to be the key card in winning this matchup for Osha.
Do you think there's any way Osha runs Knife Juggler in this deck? I've seen it occasionally in Hunter recently.
If it's Face Hunter, if he's playing Face Hunter, then yeah, then he'll have Knife Juggler. But at this point, it might just be a more mid-range Hunter where you have like Ardent Squire in it just to fight against an early game. Especially if you're playing as the banned warrior, you have to expect to be playing against at least Shaman or at least Zoo. So, quite interesting. So, Direwolf Alpha coming down here. So, he just wants the least chances of it actually hitting the 2-1 itself. So, oh, wow. Okay, so he's playing around Eaglehorn Bow by making this trade preemptively.
There's no Eaglehorn Bow in Osha's hand, though, as we can see, and that Animal Companion is looking very awkward. A Huffer obviously gets destroyed by a 2-1, and even a Misha can just get traded with the 2-1 and the 2-2 there, leaving the Direwolf alive and Greensheep able to put the Imp Gangos on the board uncontested.
Yeah, so pretty much if he rolls Animal Companion, Leok is going to be his best bet. He can kill Command the taunt if he wants, but it doesn't seem like the most proactive play. I think the best thing is just a hope that you roll Leok, and then that Greensheep just ignores the Leok, and then you can Houndmaster it next turn.
It's a very rare sentence, that one. You've got to hope that you get Leok.
Yeah, but because the thing is, Greensheep is going to want to play a 3-drop next turn anyways. Ooh, it's not the best, but...
It's not the worst. I think Misha would have been worse, because now you get to choose the trades, and you can trade the Argent Squire into the Direwolf Alpha, and that seems particularly relevant.
Yeah, so Greensheep is going to probably play the Imp Gang Boss now, and the next turn he's probably going to have to roll a 50-50 to not discard the Doomguard. So he's going to play Darkshire Councilman and then Soulfire, most likely.
Yeah, that definitely seems right. I think the Darkshire Councilman next turn is probably more important than holding on to the Doomguard.
Yeah, so Tempo Houndmaster looks like the play here, just because the Kindly Grandmother doesn't really do anything. So that is going to be a great Soulfire target for Greensheep.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like such a good play because it trades with the Imp Gang Boss. I guess you're punished a little bit by cards like Abusive Sergeant, but as you said before, Abusive Sergeant and Power Overwhelming aren't necessarily cards that are run in these more discard-heavy Zoo decks.
So one question I've got now, looking towards Greensheep's next turn, you know, we mentioned how playing the Councilman into Soulfire is obviously going to be a tasty-looking option.
Yep.
Obviously, it's his turn 4 as well, though. Is there any merit to maybe looking for a tap and hoping for a 2-drop of some kind?
I think you could, but it's probably not worth it because you really cannot compete kind of with the Call of the Wild, like the high mains going in the late game. So you just really want to get on the board as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and then just tap later on in the game.
And the thing is, Darkshire Councilman is such a strong card. Being able to play that uncontested on the board next to an Imp Gang Boss, and also killing that 4-drop with a 1-mana card.
50-50.
It just seems too strong. And he did lose the Doom Guard there, but even that's not quite the end of the world because Soulfire, his second Soulfire is going to be equally strong.
Yeah, so this Thunder Rhino, oh gosh.
Osha just, he can't deal with the Councilman unless he goes kind of Grandmother Kill Command, and that just feels so weak.
I think he actually has to because all of his other options are even weaker, right? Eaglehorn Bow doesn't actually have a target. Thunder Rhino is going to take out a 1-1. And
he could just develop the bow and play kindly Grandmother, but it all feels so weak.
Yeah.
Grandmother then basically gives Greensheep an extra imp for free.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's just... Osha's in a pretty bad spot. I mean, it also depends on what how Greensheep further develops, but Greensheep looks like he has pretty firm control of this board, and he's not going to be letting go of it anytime soon.
I think one key thing as well is, like, Greensheep, currently only has that Soulfire in hand, so it's going to depend on his next couple of draws, kind of how this game will continue to pan out, because while it's looking pretty fantastic for him now, he's going to rely on picking up those cards that are going to fit nicely into his curve.
Yeah, there's also some merit to kill command the in-game boss as well, but yeah.
Okay, so you were right before Deathsea. Greensheep really did lose a 50-50 there by discarding the Soulfire. Imagine how strong Doomguard into Silverware Golem would be right now. But the Soulfire into Silverware Golem, not so bad either. It still lets him tap and then play a 2-drop if he draws into it.
Yeah, so turn 6 is pretty much the turn that almost all hunters want to play high main if they have it. So Greensheep making a very good trade there, just trading with the Imp Gang Boss, getting an extra 1-1, and just keeping as much power on the board as possible.
Looks like he hesitated there because he's considering not wanting to play completely into Unleash the Hounds. Yeah, but I suppose even Unleash the Hound isn't too strong here. You have 3 minions that have 3 health, so there's only so much damage those hounds can do.
I think, yeah, I mean the imp really doesn't change the Unleash the Hounds too much, so I'm quite happy to play it there. I think he was just maybe debating whether or not he wanted to put the imp on the side or on the inside, because say if he gets something like a Direwolf Alpha, he'll have to trade off his Malchus's imp before he can get to his Silverware Golem.
Osha picks up Call of the Wild there, which is not quite the powerful hunter card that you want on turn 6. What do you think he's going to have to play here? It looks like an Eaglehorn Bow to me.
I think so, yeah. Use Eaglehorn Bow, probably down 3-3. And just hero power and be pretty sad about this, that you queued this hunter into the Azure.
I mean, hero powering on turn 6 when your opponent still has 26 health doesn't feel strong. There's the Defender of Argus, the other relevant card for positioning there.
Yep. So really nice board here for Greensheep. At this point, Unleash the Hounds will still be pretty good, but he's quickly losing control. Yeah, that's not really going to do it. He can't really...
Yeah, this is all just feeling a little bit clunky right now, right, for
yes.
Osha. Like, everything he's drawn, everything he's had so far this game, it's been slightly off curve. It's never quite been the right thing for the right situation. Even right down to turn 3 where he had to play the Animal Companion, it was like none of those 3 options were really great options regardless. So it was like... It's felt a little bit unfortunate here for Osha in terms of that, but I've got to say Greensheep has done a fantastic job of building up this board, and despite not actually having the best kind of look in terms of those discards and things earlier on, still looking fantastic in this series.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing about Hunter right now. You know, for me, I don't think that Hunter is a top tier class, just because, for the most part, you don't have too many options usually to pick from. Like, you're just trying to play on curve and hope that that's good enough, while... You know, there's so many decks in the format right now have tons of options. You can kind of craft the game to pretty much to your liking.
Yeah.
Right.
We've talked a lot about the versatility of classes. Hunter did get a small element of that with Karazhan. There is the mid-range. You can just about play an aggro Hunter. There's Hybrid as well, and there is this completely unrefined, definitely not yet finished secret Yogg, Lock and Load Hunter type deck somewhere. But as I said, it's not quite refined, and it's not what these players expect to be playing at top-level gameplay.
Pretty good for Greensheep here. So once again, Unleash the Hounds is going to be the only thing that can actually save Osha, because this Call of the Wild. So what exactly does he do with Call of the Wild? So this Tundra Rhino has to die.
Yeah, of course.
There's no question about that. Call of the Wild.
It kills the Imp Gang Boss, and then Eagle Hornbow kills something else, and that's it.
Yeah. So you. Okay. So he is going to take 3. He's going to go down. So he is going to go down to 6 life, and then after that, the Misha from the Call of the Wild is not going to be enough to save Osha. So I guess Quick Shot into Unleash the Hounds, does that even save him?
The problem is for Osha right now is he just doesn't quite have the mana to do what he wants to do. He can only deal 3 damage to Greensheep's face this turn, right?
Yeah, and my bad. I forgot that Quick Shot only draws a card when you have an empty hand. Yeah, so this is just going to be it for Osha. There's not much. Yeah, there's nothing that he can do.
I don't believe so. I think he's just about run out of options. He can smack something with the Eagle Horn Bow if he pleases, but I'm not sure it's really going to achieve all too much.
That's exactly 7 damage there on board from Greensheep, and it will be lethal.
Yeah, I think Osha's well aware of that as well. So that is going to be this one going the way of Greensheep, and that means we have a series on our hands. It's 1-1 now between these two players. So Osha, his undefeated streak has been put to a halt now. 4 games in a row, but he couldn't make it 5 as Greensheep is going to even things up here. And that's Greensheep's Zoolock out of the way as well, which I think is going to be a key thing because we already mentioned that's kind of his signature deck, right? That's what you think of when you think Greensheep. So now I'm curious to see what else it is that Greensheep's going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah, I think it's quite weird because Osha brought Hunter, yet banned Warrior, which Warrior is probably the best, like his best matchup for the Hunter. Now the Hunter actually doesn't have any good matchups. Like, in my opinion, the Druid is strongly favored versus Hunter, and also the Shaman. The Shaman has way more options than Hunter. They can control the board much better than the Hunter can.
It's been kind of a well-known fact for a long time that Hunter is favored against Warrior. You're right, it is one of the best matchups. Mid-rangey Hunter, I mean, even more so, I guess, back in the days of Freezing Trap, very favored against anything control. But you're right, the ban definitely puts the Hunter in a little bit of a worse shot. As I said before, if there was someone to put an end to Osha's winning streak, Greensheep is our guy.
Yeah, well, we'll have to find out. And, you know, I'm curious now. We get to kind of go a little bit deeper into these 2 deck pools and see what these kind of styles are going to be. And this is looking an awful lot like Faith Shaman to me, to be quite honest.
Yeah. You see the Lava Burst, and that's a pretty clear indicator.
I mean, Lava Burst and Abusive Sergeant as well. So the mid-range variants, you really don't have any need for the Abusive Sergeant. So, yeah, so this is going to be Face. And once again, I thought that the Face Shaman kind of fell out of favor. But, Greensheep proving it strong.
I think one thing to bear in mind as well is, with it being so early into Karazhan as well, some of these players will just fall back on comfort decks. Like, this is tournament play, and if you know the deck through and through, regardless of what cards you're up against, you're still going to understand the matchup to a large extent. So,
though we did just see a Maelstrom Portal, which indicates the Greensheep is willing to admit that some of these Karazhan cards are really strong. I did say this earlier, but Greensheep is very well known for playing aggro decks. So the discard Zoolock fits into that category, as does this Face Shaman. I'll be interested to see what his 3rd deck is.
Nice play here from Greensheep. Pretty much any roll there was very good Animal Companion there from Osha. Because any roll was pretty good there. So
Lava Burst onto the
Lava Burst is so weak.
Yeah,
now, isn't it?
because the thing is, if you Lava Burst, you're gonna overload for 2, and then you're gonna have only two mana the next turn, and you're gonna have to hero power. So it's just something that you can't really afford. Greensheep already in a pretty problematic situation, and Osha, he built his deck in a way that's actually very, very anti-aggro, so maybe this is why he banned the Warrior, because he thinks he's actually favored with double, well, we're assuming that he runs Unleash the Hounds, and, you know, cards like Argent Squire, cards like Argent Horse Rider, these are very good against aggressive decks.
Well, he's going to find himself a very favorable trade in that, and deals with the spell power totem as well. So I think, honestly, Osha looking to be in a pretty commanding position. That is going to be the Lava Burst onto the 4-4 in the end.
It's not quite as bad now because his hand is full of 3-drops, and he will have 3 mana next turn. So a good Tuskar Totemic could start to bring him back into the game, but that Infested Wolf, as Tatsi just noticed, a very strong pickup for Osha there.
That was probably the best draw in his deck, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise he would have had to play Fiery Bat and Hero Power, which is something he doesn't want to do. And Greensheep cannot high roll on these Tuskar Totemics.
Did you see the little face Greensheep put over there as well? He's kind of like, well, I guess that's Hearthstone. But now we're looking at not the easiest turn from Osha. He doesn't really have anything super great in terms of combo. I mean, you can quick shot Fiery Bat Hero Power, or
I think you just double Fire Bat, because the thing is you've already seen one Maelstrom Portal, and the Hero Power right now isn't actually relevant. So I like to see the double Fiery Bats come down. It may, you might be able to get to kill command a thing from below, for example, and then the turn after that you'll be able to cycle your quick shot. So I like the double Fiery Bat here. I don't think it's time to actually hitting the Hero Power. But that said, Osha might be thinking of Lightning Bolt Maelstrom Portal. That might actually just end the game for Greensheep.
Yeah, it's very interesting right now. Osha is trying to work out whether to play these Fiery Bats, whether to play one of them, whether to play 2 of them. He goes for one.
I don't like it. But let's see how this pans out for Osha.
I think 1 is fine because it allowed him to squeeze in the Hero Power as well.
I don't think it's too
I think
relevant.
it's just like curving out nicely as well. I think and the Fiery Bat you're often going to be able to play as part of a different turn. There's a lot of turns as Hunter where you've got kind of 1 or 2 mana left over to.
But now,
that with.
okay, well he did pick up the Eaglehorn Bow, so that's going to be a much better option than Quick Shot. He can save the Quick Shot to cycle, maybe even next turn, if he picks up something like a 2-drop. I guess he should just go for the Quick Shot now in the Fiery Bat. Just pretty much just get on the board again. You need to get on board.
I mean, you can completely clear the board here. You can take control of the game.
Yep.
You drop the Fiery Bat, Quick Shot one of the Wolves, and Eaglehorn Bow the other, and trade a 1/1.
So we haven't seen a Savannah High Main from Osha yet. So we're actually not sure if he's running Savannah High Main. He might have opted it out just because, once again, he's banning Warrior. You know, he might not think that he needs a High Main to fight versus some of the aggressive decks.
It's so weird that when you're looking at these sort of how these archetypes are changing slightly, some of the most powerful cards for the classes are just starting to not see play. Like we said earlier with the Power Overwhelming and Warlock, just not seeing play anymore.
So pretty sweet turn there from Osha. So he decides just to pop the Fire Bat and save both his Quick Shot and his Kill Command. So he is going to be able to deal with whatever Greensheep puts out. I think something like a Doomhammer might be the best pickup for Greensheep, just because it allows him to just deal with the board and then reload afterwards with minions.
That is not quite a Doomhammer though, and he is able to fill up his board a little bit, but it doesn't seem like quite enough in this position against the Hunter. All Osha needs to do now is draw into a Call of the Wild to play it next turn, and he's completely ahead this game.
You know, I think Call of the Wild might be the most top-decked card in the game on turn 8. Turn 8, every single time, they just play it right off the top. You know, but this looks like a nice turn just to cycle. I mean, you don't even have to cycle the Quick Shot, right? You just kill command the thing, Kindly Grandmother, Hero Power.
Do you know one thing I've just noticed? I'm not sure whether I'm maybe reading into this a little too much, and it probably is in the deck, but we actually haven't seen Savannah High Main from Osha. We've not seen him draw it once, so
he might not be running it.
There's potential that this is just pure early game deck.
Yep.
Well, with Call of the Wilds, because you just can't not run that card.
And also Tundra Runner. I mean, there are some variations of Face Hunter that hasn't run it. You know, just because Call of the Wild's too slow. Maybe some lists, say Cursed list, it got a bit popular than the ladder. He actually runs just Leroy Jenkins as the top end, the one top end card.
Is Osha not? No, he's not going to do it with Sergeant Squire.
Okay.
Guess he's just decided it's not a threat. I need to be dealing damage to the face right now.
Yep.
I can't afford to waste 2 attacks on the Sergeant Squire.
Hero Power, and then I guess you can pop the Grandmother if you want. I mean, Greensheep he can't play around Call of the Wild for the most part. Call of the Wild's going to end the game. So
I think if you're going to trade the Squire, you go for one of the other minions though, because at the moment the Grandmother is only representing 1 damage. If you pop it, you're essentially just putting more damage and more potential for Osha to trade onto the board.
I think
there would have been an argument to trade it and then be able to use the lightning bolt onto it.
Right.
I think it's actually, I think overall I liked Greensheep's line, but I would have liked to see the Faceless come down first, just for less chances of it killing the 1-1, because that 1-1 is very valuable on especially on this board.
Okay, so Osha is going to be able to play his quick shot this turn to draw a card, which is somewhat relevant. I mean, just drawing an extra card in one turn can be the difference between getting that Call of the Wild while it's not too late.
So Osha could trade everything there, so he could use his bow into the taunt and then abusive and quick shot the Flame Wreath Faceless, but there might be some arguments actually just going face now. But the thing is, with double Call the Wild in the deck and you're also drawing a card, I think it's actually very reasonable just to kill this Flame Wreath Faceless. Okay, so he's gonna keep. So is he actually going to quick shot? Okay, wow. Okay, so he's just gonna keep his Kindly Grandmother intact. So high main.
There's a Savannah high main. After all of those conversations we just had about this guy, it actually is there.
Yeah, just never actually happened to draw it in the end, but. I've got to say, despite how few minions are actually on the board, it still looks like a commanding position on board for Osha. Even with just the 1-1 and the 2-1, there's so little to answer this from Greensheep right now.
I think more so is that both Flame Wreath Facelesses are gone. Also, both Tuskar Totemics are gone.
There's likely another Maelstrom Portal, which would have been a really nice kind of top deck here.
But the thing is that Aggro Shaman, once you run out of steam, you're just out.
This is one of those games where it really shows the signs of these decks struggling against each other as they take down their threats bit by bit, leaving them on turn 9 with only minions that have 1 health and 1 or 2 attack on the board. It really is a sign of two decks that are just tearing each other apart.
A lot of damage going to be coming into Greensheep's face here.
Really good attack there from Osha. There's no need to trade off the 1-1. So, yeah, Greensheep, I don't think there's anything he can do to this. So, if he got Spell Power Totem, he could have done 10 damage, but then there's nothing to do 8 damage to face the turn afterwards.
He needs that Doom Hammer.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything that's enough now. Tracking is definitely going to find Call of the Wild.
Wow, it has to at this stage in the game. How many cards are we through Osha's deck right now?
Yeah. So he pretty much anything's good. Yeah.
There we go.
To be honest, it doesn't matter. Yeah, this is gonna be the concede here for Greensheep. There's nothing in the game unless he runs Deathwing, but he's even overloaded for 1, so he can't even Deathwing.
Yeah, that would have been really. That would have been the biggest surprise of the night if we saw Deathwing.
If we saw Deathwing in that deck just randomly, that would have been kind of a highlight of the night almost.
I mean,
that's saying something considering the first matchup as well. But
I mean, the thing is, like, you know, on ladder that might happen, but probably not in a big tournament like this. Like, especially Greensheep. You know, Greensheep's all about consistency. I think so. He's always going to bring the decks that he thinks is going to give him the best chances to get through. He doesn't really do many weird things like Pesty and Raven do.
Right, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to mean now, though, Osha is 2-1 up in this series. And that is...
Whoa, okay, hang on a second. We have another interesting Warlock deck.
Did Raven and Osha, did they, like, practice together or something? Yeah, did they collaborate?
These do seem like similar decks. I mean, we're seeing the Chimor, though, which does signify that there probably isn't a Zoth in the deck.
Whoa!
Cthulhu and Nazoth, maybe?
Cthulhu and Zoth Reno?
Cthulhu, Nazoth, Reno lock. Of course, everybody plays that.
Yeah, maybe with some Dragon Splash in too. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've seen the Chilmore. It works both with Nazoth and with the Curator. It'll be interesting to see if he has as many dragons in it as Raven did. But
I don't
think he has space for as many dragons.
But the thing is now, if you look at, so we said that it might have been hard for Osha to win with his Hunter because his Hunter was kind of pretty much unfavored in versus the rest of Greensheep's decks. But now this Warlock, I think it faces the same problem because Greensheep's Druid and his Shaman are very, very good versus Reno decks.
It's this risk that Osha takes here, just like Raven did, just like Pesty did with his Druid. It's this risk of now having to win with this deck. There's no way he can get through this tournament without winning with this deck several times.
I mean, it makes sense now how Osha 3-0'd Ness, just because he brought a really weird lineup. I'm pretty sure Ness wasn't expecting Osha's lineup. So, yeah, kind of caught him off guard.
And I think there's a lot to be said about doing that in a tournament setting. Let's just bear in mind, turn 3 just ended, and we already see Osha is on 14 HP. This is already looking a little bit scary for him.
Yeah.
He really needs to pick up that Reno Jackson in order to play it on turn 6, but even before then, he needs to survive until turn 6.
So really, really weird lineup from Osha. So he brought two decks that are technically good versus Control Warrior, right? So he brought Reno Lock, and he also brought Hunter, which are both good against Control Warrior, but maybe since he's facing Greensheep, he knows that Greensheep doesn't like playing like control decks.
He got exactly what he wanted from that Dark Peddler. I just want to point out quickly, because now he can trade the Harvest Golem into the Flame Tongue Totem as well, kill both of them, draw 2 cards, leaving
insane.
only a Totem Golem on the board, which is definitely nowhere near as much of a threat, especially considering Greensheep may need to consider starting to trade now.
I still don't think he trade. You have a Doomhammer next turn. Yeah, just think from below and use... Okay, so he makes this trade, I guess, just to protect...
Nothing from below.
From what? From power overwhelming?
But now, I think the important thing is Osha can start playing taunts if he wants to. He's got the Cthulhu taunt there. He can then play Siphon Soul or, you know, Infested Tauren if he wants to. He really needs to pick up this Reno Jackson sooner rather than later, though.
What a weird deck from Osha.
I wonder if he runs Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially with how potent Warrior has been recently. Like, just to have that in your deck. Assuming that this is a deck that he's been playing with ladder and hasn't tweaked it specifically for his ban and things.
Because that would make a big difference against this Doomhammer.
Yeah, I like this hit in. It plays into Maelstrom Portal a little bit, but I think you're fine with that.
Now, Greensheep can develop the Doomhammer, which, as we've established earlier, the sooner you can do that, the better. You can actually play Doomhammer, use it to clear up both minions, and then go face with the Totem Golem.
Or he can also Doomhammer the taunt twice and then hit the golem in to go face for 5. But I think clearing the board's probably a little bit better because, you know, Reno Lock requires board presence most of the time because their removal kind of sucks, right? You have like a Siphon Soul, which isn't great, and you have like power overwhelming, and the rest of it is just like clunky AoE. So you have a Twisting Nether, Shadow Flame, Hellfire. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Greensheep to just kill this. However, that said, he won't have lethal if this Totem Golem gets removed from hand currently.
Okay, so Osha now in a bit of a tough spot. He probably feels like he needs to develop that taunt to protect from the Doomhammer just a little bit. That Rockbiter weapon, is currently lethal for Greensheep.
Yeah.
So Twilight Drake isn't quite good enough.
No.
Nor Siphon Soul. Well, Siphon Soul would prevent the lethal for now, but you can't really afford to Siphon Soul a Totem Golem against a deck which runs Flame Wreath Faceless.
Exactly.
I think one of the most painful things about this turn as well is ordinarily you'd love to life tap and then go for the Torrent, but the second you do that, you know that Rockbiter combo is going to be a potential option, and you immediately put yourself in lethal range once more.
So Greensheep has a lot of outs here. He has the second Rockbiter weapon, double Lightning Bolt, double Lava Burst, and
there it is as well.
Okay, Osha making kind of the soul read there. You know, just hoping for that top deck Reno, and that is just going to be it. Yeah, this matchup is really, really bad for the Reno Lock. Really, really bad. It's probably something like 20% or something, like really, really polarized.
Now, we haven't yet seen Greensheep's final deck, have we? So,
no.
For all we know, that could be something crazy like this Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, I just expect just normal Mali. I mean, I say normal Mali, Yogg, Token, Druid, or whatever, but yeah, I expect it to be Mali, Druid.
And I think this is one thing that I've seen a lot from Greensheep when I've seen him play previously is he loves to be consistent with his decks. Like often you'll see in a series when he doesn't win with a deck, he will just play it again. He'll just go until he gets that deck out of the way. He doesn't really want to kind of mix things up and try and predict matchups or anything. He's just more than happy to kind of just keep going at it.
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting.
Here we go. It is going to be the deciding match. Both games on stream so far going the distance here. This time, you gotta look through the eyes of Osha and consider, do you hold on to the Reno Jackson in this scenario?
I think you actually always do, even versus Control Warrior, just because it gives you it just gives you so much flexibility. Like, you can tap as much as you want and just not be scared. Wow, so Greensheep is playing some sort of Miracle Druid.
It's just another variant on the Malagos one, though, really, isn't it? I mean, because you're running Malagos, you're running Moonfire, and Moonfire is one of those cards that works so well with Gadgets and Auctioneer, along with Innovates as well.
The thing I'm interested in is whether or not he's running 1 or 2 Gadgets and Auctioneers.
Yeah.
Because the second, like these days I've seen some lists, they run like an Ancient of War, like 1 Ancient of War, 1 Gadgetzan, just because especially in a tournament setting where the Auctioneer is like pretty bad versus aggressive decks, but this should be super favored for Greensheep because you also have like the Malagos Druid to punish like the Warlock staying at a low life total as well.
We'll see how this one is going to pan out. The Bran in hand as well for Osha, so there's potential for some important things going out, but Cthulhu is going to be coming into play as well. Obviously, we saw the taunt come down last game, but we've not actually seen a lot of Cthulhu. Although I suppose we didn't really see that much of Osha's game.
And I think it's really huge that he picked it up in order to play it on turn 2. Otherwise, he would have had to either tap or consider coining out Bran, which feels particularly weak. I think picking up the Beckoner of Evil gave him a really easy option to play that turn.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much they only run 4 Cthulhu cards, so they run the Beckoner of Evil, which is a 2/3, they run the 4/2 with the Divine Shield, they run the Spider Tank, the 3/4, and they also run the Taunt. So the Taunt, the 3/6 Taunt.
And there you go, Osha does play the Bran on curve, maybe hoping to get that incredible Twilight Drake prop next turn. Not quite getting his way on that.
I do like the decision to do that, though. Since the Wrath came out the turn before, it was fairly safe. I guess he was kind of just hoping for the high roll, I suppose, again. But
yep, so draw 3 cards, go to 8, and then next turn he's gonna play Emperor Thorson, and then he's gonna have a field damage right after that.
Huge. Sometimes taking risks like that, though, that Bran, that is how you just win games immediately.
I actually don't think it's too much of a risk, because the thing is...
yeah, that's the thing. Like, the downside wasn't even that bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And the thing is, overall, that value that you get from it is actually less than people expect. Because, you know, sometimes you can buff your Cthulhu twice, but, like, whatever, you know.
Yeah. This is a conversation I had with Sottle, actually, fairly recently, was kind of... A lot of people often give Bran a little bit more respect than sometimes is necessary, and it feels a lot of the time when you play Bran, it's like playing a 2/4 taunt on top of his actual battle cry.
That being said, it is of course relevant with Cthulhu a little bit later on into the game if we were to get to that stage, but against a deck like Druid, which is likely to be at least somewhat aggressive, it does make sense to fight for board control rather than just holding on to it.
Oh, and that's also a 5th card that I forgot to mention, the Disciple of Cthulhu, which is the 3 mana 2/1 that deals 2 damage. So that with the Bran would have been able to deal 4 damage, and then
I think. Do you think he might play that with the Shadow Bolt here in order to keep his minions intact, or is he like to make a trade with the Earthen Ring?
I think I like the tap and then just take the trade of the Earthen Ring. The Shadow Bolt is fine, I guess. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, yeah. It looks like he's going to go for it, though. Otherwise, he would tap first.
Yeah, I suppose... Oh, he's actually going to go for the tap first in the end. Gets a Siphon Soul off of that one.
Okay, Siphon Soul will be pretty good if Greensheep is running an Ancient of War, but with the Gadgets and Auctioneer, I don't think there's space for that.
He'll find some use for it regardless, because if he has to use it on the Gadgets and Auctioneer, he does. That's unlikely, though. But Fandral and Arcane Giant would both be really good targets for the Siphon Soul.
So he could Fandral now and Raven Idol to find a minion and a spell. I don't think it's quite time for the Auctioneer yet, just because you have way more options right now.
The problem is with Osha's Reno in this deck against Greensheep's sort of combo Malagos deck is that Greensheep could potentially deal the full 30 damage in one turn. It is possible. So Reno Jackson isn't quite going to be enough to completely secure the game for Osha.
Yeah, and also that said, pretty much Jiraxis is unplayable unless you've seen like Malagos down. So pretty awkward. Okay, so Greensheep is just going to take control of the board. I wouldn't have mind leaving the Twilight Drake up just because it's awkward for them to deal 1 damage. They have one Mortal Coil in the deck and 1 Dark Peddler, so it's pretty awkward. But that said, this is probably... I mean, like, we say Siphon Soul, but I don't think you can actually afford to.
It's really tricky. It feels to me like it has to be a Siphon Soul, because if this was followed up by a Nourish, which as we can see in Greensheep's hand it would be, that is just the most brutal combo.
Yeah, but still, you have to save the Siphon Soul for not only Malagos, not even, and also like double 8/8s, you know, the Arcane Giants. You have so much you need to Siphon Soul. I think you need to take a risk and just leave this thing there.
Do you think there's any logic in tapping and maybe picking up a Mortal Coil or something to use the Shadow Bolt?
Sure, yeah. And it looks like he's going to go that route.
That's not going to do it.
So is he really going to coin Siphon Soul?
Yeah.
Oh, he must not be happy about that.
I mean, there's the threat of a 10/10 Ancient of War. There's the threat of double Raven Idol. There's a threat of Nourish. There's so many reasons to get rid of that Vandal.
I think as well, he does have Twisting Nether in hand.
Yeah.
So if you do get something like a double Arcane Golem, there is still at least an answer there available. It's maybe not ideal, but at least there is another way out.
Yeah, but Osha doesn't really look like he can do meaningful things in the near future. So what's Osha's next turn look like? It looks like just playing one minion and either tapping or using a Shadow Bolt. But you know, Greensheep's deck doesn't have many targets for Shadow Bolt apart from these double Azure Drakes. Yeah.
You can tell a game of Hearthstone is starting to get really intense when we're getting forehead cam from Greensheep.
Yeah.
Leaning in.
Yeah, he's certainly, I think, having to consider a lot of decisions, which, you know, maybe this is something that, I mean, I don't want to go too ham on this, but, like, you know, with Greensheep often playing those aggro decks, this isn't a scenario that I'm sure he finds himself in all too often. If it's a matter of him playing aggro decks all of the time, when you get into these 10-card scenarios, it's not something that is very easy to do without practice.
Wow, and Greensheep really wanted 10 mana next turn there.
I mean, I think it's actually not just about 10 mana. It's just more of he needs to empty his hand if he wants to Auctioneer turn, and he also has Azure Drake in hand. Thalanos might overdraw him in some scenarios if he needs to use them both together. So it's pretty awkward, and he also picked up the Pharaoh Rage, which could push lethal damage depending on how greedy Osha gets.
Yeah. The thing is, Osha's deck is much more higher value than Greensheep's, so Greensheep needs to focus on getting the damage and winning the game as quickly as possible, because the longer this game goes on, and the more damage Osha can heal back up again, the higher Osha's chance to actually take this away.
I think it's quite interesting. I'm not sure. It's very, very close who actually has a higher value deck, right? Because thing is, okay, there is another 8/8 in the deck, and also the threat of not only Yogg but also Malagos, right?
Yeah,
so,
but I think Osha's deck with N'Zoth bringing back the Taunt, Sylvanas, Akan, and whatever else, plus Cthulhu as well. It's just, I mean, 2 Old Gods is...
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
I mean, the thing is also that Greensheep didn't see the... he didn't see the Cthulhu, did he? Oh, wait. Oh, he has. I mean, the thing is, he might not be expecting the N'Zoth, actually. Just because, you know...
I think if you see Infested Tauren...
I mean, Infested Tauren is also a pretty good minion in Reno Lock, right? It just buys you some time, and it puts a thing on there, and maybe Greensheep might think that, you know, if you're running Cthulhu already, you can't run N'Zoth.
So many possibilities.
Right.
So this is an awkward board. I think he just have to Nether...
Oh my goodness, but that leaves him with literally no answer to Malagos when it comes down.
Yeah.
Is there any world where you play Infested Tauren and Doomsayer, maybe? Or you tap?
I was going to say, at very least, you would tap first just to see what else is available. One of the awkward things as well is you have so much healing in your hand with the Apothecary and the Reno Jackson, but he's not actually lost that much HP yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this. It's good to see.
And the Doomsayer as well, yeah.
So pretty awkward. I mean, just putting Greensheep in an awkward situation is, I guess, what he needs to do right now.
Well, the problem is as well for Greensheep right now is that he can comfortably deal with this, but that would mean using up this burn damage that he really wants to combo with Malagos a little bit later on in the game, or at least Gadgetzan and Auctioneer.
Yeah.
And he could play them with Gadgetzan and Auctioneer now, but in that case he might just run out of cards and not have the damage to kill Osha.
So what you're saying is that this game's going to come down to Yogg.
What I'm saying is that this game is probably going to come down to Yogg.
Okay, yeah. I see. Everything makes sense now. Yeah, I don't think you can actually use the Living Roots. Because the thing is, that if you can clear without living roots, I think it's just much better to keep it.
Yeah, swipe is the answer. That swipe might even go face with the Thalnos clearing up the Investitorial and the Arcane Giant clearing up the Doomsayer, but... Okay.
Okay. So he's going to burn his Moonfire now.
Oh, wow.
I think it's in Greensheep's best interest to not Arcane Giant. And also, yeah, I think this is good enough. I don't think he needs to, I don't think he needs to play this. So he might consider clearing this 2-2 just because of like power overwhelming, but...
Wow, no, Greensheep was going all in. He's like, well, I've just used up some of my burn damage in the form of Moonfire. I'm going to clear the board, go all in. Arcane Giant is now my win condition. My opponent does not have Twisting Nether. That card doesn't exist.
Osha really happy to see that Living Roots come down because he had a Twisting Nether anyways. So pretty interesting decision there from Greensheep because even power overwhelming on the 2-2 can't clear that 8-8. Right, so like power overwhelming and Shadow Flame, it can't clear the 8-8. So pretty interesting there. I think I would have liked to see Greensheep just leave that 2-2 there.
Well, I'm curious to see. Like Greensheep didn't seem at all surprised by the Twisting Nether. It didn't seem like it phased him at all. So I think maybe playing that second Arcane Giant just to force that card out and potentially force the last form of removal for his Malagos.
I mean, I think it's quite interesting just because I think that Greensheep could have played in a way where Twisting Nether would have never been good this game, so you pretty much just give him a dead draw or a dead card. But maybe with Yogg Saron in hand, he thinks that he has a backup anyways, so he's like, whatever, if this dies, I guess I can just Yogg eventually.
Of course, yeah, the real strategy for Greensheep is if he can't get the damage with Malagos, wait out the game until Osha feels the need to play Jiraxxus, and then just get Sacrificial Racked from Yogg Saron and win the game instantly.
You know,
and
I've
get
actually
a handy little heal off the top of it as well.
I've actually never saw that, or I've actually never seen that before.
No, I've been there. I've been there. My
been there.
It was the first spell it cast to kill my opponent's Jiraxxus. It was incredible.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, so not too great of options here. Osha's in a really weird spot. I think you tap, and then you probably play the Cult Apothecary and just the Ooze just to get him bored a little bit.
Is there any way in which you feel you have to play Reno Jackson right now? I think you need to save it, but at the same time, it's so risky that Malagos is already a threat. Greensheep's had a Thorasant proc. He's got a lot of cards in his hand.
I mean, he would need Malagos plus 2 spells to actually kill him, and if he plays a Cult Apothecary. Oh my goodness. I think it's quite interesting. I kind of don't like that from Osha because one of the things about Reno Lock too is that you want to pretty much Reno at the last moment, I guess. So maybe he's thinking that he wants to speed up this game a little bit. He's going to play like Sylvanas and Harvest Golem next turn and then just followed up by an Enzoth. So yeah, Greensheep pretty happy just to play this Malagos here. There's nothing else that kills it anymore. Sylvanas Shadow Flame is going to be what Osha needs, and he can't tap for it.
No, he absolutely cannot at this stage, but Sylvanas going to be available. Thorasant comes out.
Didn't get it. He didn't get the Shadow Flame.
I mean, it's quite funny because Greensheep actually doesn't have any spells. So I believe he has 1 Living Roots left.
He could, of course, he could Yogg Saron. See what spells that gets with the spell damage as well.
You're right. You're right. Just yeah.
And not only that, he could actually he could actually Wild Growth first, use that to draw a card while also generating 2 extra spells for Yogg Saron. Then innovate out Yogg. That's another spell for Yogg Saron.
Greensheep, is he he's smiling or now? He's like, oh god, this is it. This is it. Yogg, don't fail me, Yogg.
Can see where this is going.
5th game in the series as well. This is the decider.
Oh no. Greensheep is not looking happy.
I mean, I can't say I blame him that much. I'm not sure I would be all that comfortable in this scenario.
So there's a Living Roots. What is Greensheep's last card?
18 damage, 22, 23. He's 1 off lethal, right?
He's 1 off or 1 mana off?
1 damage off because he can. So the Living Roots is 8 damage. He has 10 on board, and then Feral Rage is another 4 damage. Hero Power is 23.
But he can't play all of those, right? He can't play all of those. So he's 1 mana short.
No, you can play Living Roots and Feral Rage.
And Hero Power.
Oh yes. Sorry, you're right.
Raven Idol, that could be it. That could be the
That is
game.
his last card. I
could
mean,
be
you
the
have to.
decider.
I mean, you have to Raven Idol. You have to Raven Idol, man.
And then if it goes wrong, you can just back up with Yogg.
See what he gets.
No!
That's not it.
Naturalize.
Not happy about that one.
Oh man, he looks distraught right now.
I mean, you've seen you've seen everything go pretty much. I think that you probably you could just go for it.
Yeah. Well, it prevents Osha from tapping if he didn't have any healing. It's unlikely that he has lethal this
I
turn.
mean, but it's extremely likely that Yogg would be lethal if Osha doesn't play Draxus. But the thing is, he can't even steal the Malagos either, so...
Even if the Draxus comes down though, like, the thing is, that Sack Pact is there as one card that, if it gets played, it just wins you the game.
So, Greensheep kind of putting Osha in checkmate. I don't think there's anything that Osha can actually do to prevent this quote-unquote Yogg lethal.
I'm curious. I mean, you pretty much have to play Jiraxis, right? There's an argument for Cult Apothecary if you can make some solid trades.
No, I agree with you. Jiraxis has to come down here. There's no way you can leave yourself on 1 health. But, as I predicted at the start of the game, Greensheep saving that Yogg for the Jiraxis.
Yeah, but once again, it can steal, like Sylvanas can steal Yogg, right? And then...
but then still, if Sack Pact gets played, then
Yes,
it still kills
yeah.
the one demon that's on the board.
Okay, here we go. I guess you hit face first. Yeah, here we go. Praise Yogg. A little bit of prayer there from Greensheep. Thought Steal. Entomb.
Didn't hit Sylvanas. But then actually, Greensheep doesn't want to draw cards, so maybe Sylvanas stealing Yogg wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen.
Not the worst.
Tracking,
That's pretty bad.
Oh,
no.
where's it going? It's stealing the Yogg! Okay, here we go. Now it gets really interesting.
Oh no, not like this.
He just needs to see the Sacrificial Pact.
Okay. I mean this Hellfire that he thought stole might be able to...
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
What is...
Sprint, okay.
Okay, well that's actually good. Like I said, it's now good that the Sylvanas stole the Yogg, because if this was Greensheep drawing these cards, that would be a nightmare.
That would basically be game over.
Oh no, Greensheep was not looking happy.
Come on, Sacrificial Pact.
Mind control, no!
Oh no.
Oh
What?
my gosh, and it kills everything?
Well, the Divine Shield protects the Yogg,
Okay.
but there's a mortal cost. So.
Yeah, that's nothing there. Greensheep, never lucky. Osha moving through.
That was painful to watch.
You
That
know,
was...
the games where Yogg Saron gets stolen by Sylvanas are the most interesting. I saw one recently where Yogg Saron spawned a bunch of secrets, then changed control, then casted Flare, destroying the secrets it had just casted.
Interesting, yeah.
But yeah, that is going to mean, though, Osha takes the series 3-2. And, I mean, we've had 2 best-of-3s so far tonight, and both of them going the full distance. And some definitely interesting games. And a whole lot of Yogg Saron, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, what a lineup from Osha, though. How could you bring that lineup and ban Warrior? It's actually insane.
I think the Yogg Saron is almost universally considered at least one of the most powerful cards in the game at this stage. But Munch, our prediction was wrong.
Yep.
Deathsea beat us out this time.
Yes,
I mean, I've won every single time so far, haven't I?
Yep.
Yeah, you got 2-0 on the prediction, so congratulations.
And
We'll see.
also, Osha was my pick to win the entire thing.
That is very true, actually. So
What can I say?
you're doing pretty well on the predictions so far. Prophet Deathsea
Oh, yeah.
over to my left. But